Hello everyone, today we're back for the market analysis of September 22nd, 2025, and today we're going to focus on the DAX. So let's get started. As usual, we'll begin with the economics section. So this will be very quick because as you can see here, there is no news announced for September 22nd, so we can go ahead calmly across the whole market. There's no issue with that. So let's move right ahead and project the elements onto TradingView. Here we go. Let's get started. So economic overview. Here's a new layout to make things a bit clearer for you with a new style and a whiter background. Here you can see we have the DAX on the 4-hour chart in the first column. The middle column shows the 15-minute chart and the 1-minute chart will be on the right. For now, I'll stay on a single page to give you a bit more visibility with a wider view. To see what we had, as usual, I'm indeed on the 4-hour chart, the wider one. I'm going to activate trend decoder. So what do we see? We can see it's very clear. There's no issue with that. We can see we're in a downtrend with a reversal that was identified on August 25th. We're going down, going down. A range that was identified up until September 16th. And then again, a downward phase, a rebound, but still a downward phase. We identify a continuation on the 4-hour chart. So it's clear we're going to favor as much as possible. I want to stress this point, shorts when trading, but the most important thing is to watch what happens on the 15-minute chart. Let's go back. So here I'll set myself up like this. Activate trend decoder on the 15-minute chart. You'll see it's very quick, and here we are. So here the Monday session starts here. Let me remind you that we're using the French time zone. So what does this fantastic indicator do? It identified an initial range zone for us with a trend continuation here. Well, personally, I don't trade this right away because first of all, it's very early. And also you can see that I'd rather wait for a return to the hot zone. And why are we talking about the DAX today? As you might have guessed, it's because that return actually happened. Here, what I call the hot zone is what's identified by decoder trend here, as we can clearly see. And then here at 2 o'clock p.m., we have a candle, a return to the zone, a candle that comes back to test the hot zone. And often, depending on the following candles, we'll look at this on the 1-minute chart. There's an opportunity to position ourselves to go for a short. In this specific case, we can also see that a decoder trend identifies the last swing point, which is very important here and could be our take profit. So here we're clearly at 2 o'clock and we're going to see what happens. We're also going to activate power zone to look at the zones that would have been interesting for us. No surprise, the zone we identify with power zone is this one right here. So the one that's directly accessible from the hot zone is the one we see here. So of course, that's the one we're going to prioritize, meaning the zone between 23,544 and 23,556. Perfect. So now we know we have some interest around 14. Okay, I'm going to position myself here. We'll switch to the 1-minute chart. We'll come back here and look at what's happening specifically in this zone around 14. So here we are. You see there's let's say the marker that adapts to all the time frames. So here we are on the candle here, this 14 o'clock candle. It's this candle right here. And what we're going to do is wait for the 1-minute chart to confirm a bearish trend since we want to short. And interestingly, we need to touch our zone and remain as a wick. Why as a wick? I've already explained it. Quite simply, it means there's buying pressure, but the sellers are winning since there's buying pressure pushing higher, but the sellers are coming out on top by creating a large wick between the high and the close. So I know that here I have an opportunity and I'm going to focus on the areas that are more precise. We can see here that the zone we were waiting for on the M15 is actually right here. I don't know if you can see my cursor, but of course on the M1 we can refine this to place a much more interesting order. What do we see here? I think it's very clear. Here we see the shift from an M1 uptrend to a clearly breaking trend with volume, with imbalance. So we know this is great for entering a position. So here we don't really need to overthink it. What interests us is to enter either on this zone here or on this zone here. So we're simply going to cover the whole zone. There, that way we cover both zones. So we're going to put something like this. This trade here would have been triggered here. Perfect. And to go for it, well, I have two ways. I could go for this swing point, which would be interesting, of course. But it's always important to take profits. So I would have targeted this specific M15 zone, which is precisely the A23,482 zone. Yes, the 3,482. And you can clearly see that the trade is indeed a definite winner. The first thing is that we go for it, and that still gives us a a risk reward of 3.4, which is already very good. 3.4, there you go. So this trade is very clean. It follows the principles of the trend decoder and power zone. So we can see the strength of these indicators, which clearly allow us to be profitable in the markets. If I have to continue, honestly, I didn't take this one, so I marked the prices for your information, but this one I didn't take. But there was a return to the zone, to this M1 zone, which was clearly identified. It hadn't been 100% mitigated, so it was interesting to take again. So there would have been a possibility to go further, meaning to go for the 4 p.m. level. So we find ourselves here, this drop here, by placing an order like this. There you go. And then again, we were going for the next zone, that is the zone right here. Already we can see that it doesn't reach it, which is interesting. So here, personally, I would have gone break even. And above all, why is it less interesting? First, we're on a zone that has already been used after all. And above all, we can see that here we're still in the process of recreating something. There was this first rejection at 2 p.m. from the bullish trend. We can see that it wants to come back to break through again and strengthen the bullish trend. So it's rather risky. In terms of risk taking, this is clearly a high potential trade since we're bearish on the 4-hour, bearish on the 15-minute, and we're waiting to be bearish on the 1 minute. So I think this is a trade we could have taken with between 0.5% and 1%. I wouldn't have taken it at 1% for reasons I'll explain, but I probably would have taken it at 0.50% of the capital, knowing that I personally took it at 0.33%. Honestly, because I was afraid of this continuation here. All right, have a great day. See you tomorrow. Thank you. Bye-bye.